You haven't failed someone simply because you couldn't make them change. So often we feel guilty because we have identified a pattern of behavior that is detrimental to someone. And we want the best for them. And ultimately, they don't make the changes that are necessary to either save or improve their own lives. And we feel like we've been a failure. That's not the case. I'm here to tell you right now, you have not failed. You have not failed because you can't force somebody to make that change. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. You know, one of the tenets that I live by is called the respect for free will. It's one of the pillars that of my belief system, respect for free will. And what that means is that we should allow others to do what they want, do what they will, provided that it's not harming anyone else. And at the same time, we should demand that others allow us to do what we will, provided we're not harming anyone. We should respect each other's free will. And that is at the core of the issue when we talk about um, the idea of failing someone because we couldn't force them to make a change. If you think about it, across the spectrum, it could be drug addiction, it could be a sexual addiction, it could be a financial um, problem, a spending problem, an inability to control an urge. The list goes on and on. Whatever an individual's problem, whatever the behavior is that is resulting in a negative outcome for them, it's on them. Ultimately, it's their responsibility. Now, of course, we want to help in any way that we can. But what we can't do is cross boundaries in such a way that it ultimately ends up being the ignoring of or a disrespect of free will. As adults, and we're talking about adults here, not children. It's different when we're talking about minors, but we're talking about adults here. Ultimately, they're in charge of their life. Ultimately, they're responsible for their own outcomes. And I get it. We we want the best for them, but we can't make those decisions for them. We have to respect their free will. So in doing so, there are limitations to the things that we can do to attempt to cause them to change. The best we can do is make sure that they have all the information that they need. The best we can do is make sure that they understand or try our best to make sure that they understand the outcomes. It's one thing when you make a decision and you don't know what the possible outcomes are, but it's something entirely different when you know. When you can weigh the pros and cons, you know what might happen, you know what the outcome may be, and you make the decisions. That's an entirely different playing field. And once we've done that, once we've made sure that they possess the information that they need to make an intelligent decision, and granted, often people have other things going on that clouds their judgment. I get it. But what can you do about that? Can you control that? Are you directly in control of that? There's only one person who's in direct control of it, and that's them. As painful as it may be sometimes, they're the only ones that can execute. They're the only ones that make that decision. So you failed them if you didn't do your part. You failed them if you didn't offer what information you had to offer. You failed them if you didn't offer the assistance that you could give them within due bounds, within the length of your obligation, without crossing any lines. You failed them if you didn't do that. But once that line is met, that boundary, once you come up against that wall, where they own the territory on the other side, if as long as you've gone to that point, as long as you've reached out to them, you haven't failed them. If you reached out and they did not reach back, you haven't failed them. If you've gone to the limits of your obligations and they They took it from there and made whatever decision that they wanted to, and received whatever negative outcome that came along with it. You did not fail them. It's important that you understand that, because if not, you will go through life carrying guilt, a perverted sense of responsibility for something that you're not responsible for. Just make sure that you've done what you could. And as long as you've done that, you haven't failed them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Man is mind. Peace.